For this episode, we want to give a shout out to J. Moss Breakfast Burritos. Who doesn't want sweet tater tots, bacon, eggs, and cheese wrapped up in a tortilla for a meal? Find them in Nashville at 1200 Porter Road and stop by Friday, Saturday, or Sunday morning. Make sure to follow them at J. Moss Nashville on Instagram. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. For this episode, we have on producer and songwriter Daniel Agee. We talk about overanalyzing music, dad brain, daycare and sickness, being a touring musician and then a producer, and what changes when you become a dad. We hope you enjoy.
And the only other one I listen to that's sort of different is Sound Exploder. You guys know that one? That's a great podcast. Yeah. And I try to stay away from music when I get out of the studio, but that one's pretty inspiring.
That's the one where they take it from demo to completion, right?
Yeah. It's like, they're like 20 minutes, and it's like really well sculpted, where you feel like you get the experience, but it's not. Doesn't have to be a 3-hour thing or something.
So is it what, the history of
it basically
song,
is like, there's one that I like, Nickel Creek a lot. Sarah Watkins did one. The episode is basically her being like, all right, here's the song I wrote. Here's me humming the melody into my phone while on a train. And then here's whenever I got back home, here's what I turned that into. And then once I finally got in the studio, here's what I turned it into. So it's like the evolution of a song from like you looking up and being like, ba-da-ba-da-bum into your phone to
concept
a
of an idea.
Full explosion of a song. It's really cool. If they do a lot of like, if you can look through their list and if you're like, oh, I've always liked that song. I like Courtney Barnett a lot. She's an Australian singer-songwriter person. She's real quirky. But there's one where she was like, it's called Depreston, where she was shopping for a house in Australia. And basically, like, she had a conversation with the realtor, and like at the end of it, the realtor was like, also, you can just tear this down and build something new if you want. So it's her just like conceptualizing the reality of like, here I am looking to start my next chapter, and part of starting my next chapter is destroying someone's final chapter. And like all of the weirdness that goes into that of like searching for a home, what is a home, what goes into a home, you just destroyed that home, and like all of that is just one 3-minute song.
So, I'll check that one out. I don't think I've
really
heard
cool.
that one.
But you can go on down Song Splitter. I feel like I also have to step away from sometimes because I'll look up and I'll be like, I just listened to 5 in a row.
Oh, that's
I
an easy
need
binge.
to do something else.
I do find it inspiring, though.
It is very inspiring.
For somebody that does it every day, even it's so well done. The Seal one blew my mind. Did you listen to
that one?
Kiss from a Rose? Just such a
that'd be awesome.
It's really cool. Talk about like you just didn't see that coming. Like how that song landed.
Well, also Justin, if you ever get into it, it's almost like slightly a curse because once you start to notice things in songs, such as like panning and how many layers in it and stuff, then you don't listen to music the same way again.
That's the curse of being a musician,
which is good and bad. But like,
I'll say that I will probably never, even if I do listen, because I have zero musical ability.
It's not about musical knowledge or ability. Is you start to notice the layers that go into a song. So you hear a vocal part, and then you're like, oh, that's actually like a 3-part vocal part. Like that's actually like a insane like 3-part vocal part for like 3 seconds just randomly in the background in the right speaker. That's really cool.
I mean, it's what anybody I think does with their field.
Yes.
A painter's going to see brush strokes that you would have never even thought, oh, that was laid on another canvas. Yeah. So you're like, oh gosh, I wouldn't even have realized that. And so and now at the point I'm sure you are too, clearly, that you can't not hear those details. You can't just go, I'm just going to zone out and just listen to it as a song. No, you can't do it anymore.
I pay way too much attention to panning in songs. I'm obsessed with panning and being like, what sphere did you create here and stuff? And
the hats are left and the shaker's right?
Wow, you didn't mix this where I'm sitting in the drum set or sitting, it's not perspective
That's like
of
the big
piano,
argument, right? Drummer's perspective or audience perspective?
What the hell are you guys talking about?
So if you sit behind, this one, here's
Talk to me about landscape. I know that.
Yeah.
But all of this jazz.
Here's a really easy one to understand. So normally whenever you mix a piano, you do the low end in like the left ear and the high end in the right ear, because if you're sitting down in a piano,
the perspective.
That's how you that whenever you're sitting at a piano, that's how you perceive it, is because that's what you literally hear when you're sitting at a piano. Or you can just do it all on the left side or on the right side.
Well, you kind of think
why don't they do it the other way around? From the other person's perspective.
Well, that's what I was about to say. There's two ways to think of it, and you generally think of everything in the track one way or the other. So it's either, are you a person in the audience visualizing that band performing this piece, even though they may have never even been a band all playing it together at the same time. But you're going to present it that way, or you're going to present it like you're inside the band.
Like
because it feels like the perspective if you were the person playing the piano or playing the drums.
Gotcha. Which perspective do you guys like best?
I am very weird, and I like piano more ambient, in which it bounces between speakers.
Sure.
That's my go-to.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm weird, so.
Well, that's interesting.
But which perspective of the
Sounds like you're doing band perspective, right?
Band
perspective. Yeah.
Audience.
But like, there's a band called Menomina that isn't together anymore. They're based out of Portland, and they would do trippy stuff like that, where they do piano part and have it in the right ear, and then they do the same piano part again with different reverb, and then do it in the left ear.
Oh, interesting.
So they would bounce back and forth basically.
I would usually try and balance whatever it is. You know, if it's a piano thing I want only in the left, I'm going to put some verb on it to the right that gives it a sense of dimension. Yeah. I do hate the thing. Like this would be like the early 60s recordings, you know, where you got like the entire drum sets to the left or something. Yes. And then you're in a restaurant where you're only on the right side speaker, you know, and all you've got is like tambourine and horns. You know.
There are some albums
where... I guess I never thought of that.
I can give you some examples after the episode of albums that are specifically mixed hard left or hard right. I mix our podcast with pans in which the guest is center and we're like -5 and +5.
Oh, yeah.
So that way everyone has their own like slight sphere because I'm terrified of someone only doing one ear pod. And if I have Justin all the way to the right, like no one could hear me.
That would annoy me as a listener.
It would annoy me,
too,
yes.
Yeah.
So I do that of just slightly. Just give everyone their slight little sphere.
Is that a normal thing from most podcasts?
I have no idea. I know it's what I do, and I like
it.
Oh, that's interesting.
He does all of the podcast stuff.
I don't. I'm the guy that would have noticed that, and I haven't even thought about that. Now every podcast I listen to.
Well, think about it. It's like, only if people are talking at the same time, because a lot of podcasts are like, "Hey, here's the subject," like Song Exploder. Two people aren't talking at the same time. Right. So like, you don't need to worry about panning, but like. Right now, we're going to all talk at the same time multiple times during this episode.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't want to like, if we're all dead center, it's going to be confusing as hell.
A lot of masking.
So, exactly. So, sorry, Justin.
No, it's fine. Hey, you got to, I mean, I guess in landscape architecture, you can look at it in different perspectives in different scales. So, I see where you're coming from. I just don't know any of that lingo.
Well, also, like, it's like anything. You notice it once and then you can't ever unsee it.
I love metaphors. I was desperately trying to come up with a landscaping metaphor for this, and I can't.
We're trying to be inclusive, man, but we're so...
You're excluding me.
Exactly.
No, I'm joking.
Exactly.
Hey, I learned something new.
Here.
Exactly.
I learned something new.
Well, whenever we drive back, we'll put on some music and I'll talk through mixes with you and be a super nerd.
All right.
I knew a girl once whose mother was deaf.
Yeah.
So she grew up with no music in the house.
What?
So as like an adult, a young adult at this time, she just hadn't really listened to music and didn't care about music. It was just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care about music. And I was just blown away.
How could you not even have
to me,
any
it was
inkling
like,
of music?
this is the most important thing in the world. How do you not see that? And so I was desperately trying to like show her music, and everything was like, dude, that synth sound that just moves through there. Doesn't that just like move
Don't you have an emotion right now?
Yeah, isn't it? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I'm playing the same 10-second clip 7 times in a row. You know, that doesn't move you?
That doesn't move you at all? Yeah. Who was like your favorite band growing up?
Beatles.
That's fair. I love the end of Abbey Road, Her Majesty, whenever it goes.
Oh, sure. Just listened to that the other day.
When did you guys start listening to the Beatles?
Oh, probably the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was the first album I ever bought. Yeah. So like in kindergarten. My older brother told me to buy it, so it's not like I chose it.
Yeah, my parents
It wasn't until I was in
fans.
high school I started listening.
Oh, really?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'd get high and
was that awesome though?
With little help from
to find the Beatles as an adult, it sounds amazing.
It does,
because I grew up with it so much. I almost take it for granted because I know everything about it already.
Yeah,
I think about that a lot with stuff like music. Like, what would it be like to find this now as an adult?
Without question,
it would blow my mind.
Yeah,
because as a kid, I was listening to Michael Jackson, Vanilla Ice.
I would put those guys on the same spectrum.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, you know, my favorite band is actually the Ninja Turtles when they sing that.
The first record, actual real vinyl, even it was that I ever bought that I went, I have to have this, was Boston's first record.
Seriously?
I used to do the thing as a kid where I had the boombox that had the tape cassette in there, and you could tape the radio.
Yep.
And at one point I had taped a clip, and it wasn't even the whole song. It was just like the last few bars of More Than a Feeling. And I went to my mom and was like, I have to have
this one.
And I went, and she didn't know what it was from just that last bar. And I took it to my guitar teacher.
Yeah, nice.
And I went, what is this? I have to have this. And that's Boston, More Than Feeling. And I literally, at the end of the guitar lesson, made my mom drive me to Looney T-Birds, the record shop in Oxford. And we bought that record. And I went home immediately, threw it on. It was that important.
I still remember the boombox that I had in my room, like growing up.
Oh yeah,
and the CDs I was desperate to buy. I think I'm from Southern Indiana, and Best Buy was the best place to buy CDs because local record stores didn't really exist. And so I remember like records or CDs
they
back
didn't?
then, not too much.
Oh,
like
man,
we had
Looney
like
T-Birds was such an institution for
Cats
me.
Records or something like that, or like we had like one or two, but for the most part, it was like go to Best Buy. On Tuesdays, they do like that's whenever new albums were released back then. Yeah. So like if you got it week of, it'd be like, hey, it's $5 off to motivate sales.
Oh yeah.
So I'd always like try to keep track of like, all right, this weird Blink-182 album's coming out. It's gonna be $5 less. And then going into my room and like the repeat button and like the repeat one button and just listening to one song like 30 times.
The first CD I ever bought was Van Halen.
Was it really?
Yeah, that was pretty influential too.
Cool.
Yeah, as a guitar playing kid, like Van Halen absolutely just blew my mind.
I think.
Did you guys get into this kind of stuff because of your parents listening to it or your older siblings?
I am the oldest, so my parents, my dad played guitar. My parents actually had a folk band.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
That was how they met through music. They were both playing the same event in college. And met and dated and
See, I didn't have my parents listened to Christian, and it was awful Christian.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so I
not that there isn't some great Christian music.
I hated it, and my parents listened to Christian. I love you guys. I'm sorry, but I hated it.
Yeah.
So I never listened to the Beatles or Boston or the Eagles or Van Halen.
Culturally relevant bands.
Yeah, and my sister never wanted anything to do with me, so she...
This is the backstory of how you become a landscaper.
Yeah. So I never had that kind of education from the older generation of these older bands. So again, it was like Hootie and the Blowfish was something else that I
on the radio.
Yeah.
Right.
That you probably snuck in to listen to whenever you thought your parents weren't paying attention.
Oh yeah, my parents. Oh man, like I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons because they thought it was.
I grew up on The Simpsons.
That's too edgy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember crying, saying, "I want to watch The Simpsons. Come on."
Yeah.
My parents let me watch South Park, and I completely agree with that decision.
That's the one I was about to jump to. I skipped The Simpsons. For some reason, I just never got into it as a kid. But yeah, South Park and Beavis and Butthead. Oh man.
Wow. Good memory.
It's not useful for anything. But
tell me about it. I have the most useless selective memory.
Yeah. It's like, hey, do you want to talk about like the 2006 World Cup? Because I could probably tell you a lot of random details that no one needs to know or no one cares about, but I know them for some reason.
Mine's completely based on music and food and wine.
Oh, okay.
Larissa can be like, hey, remember when we went to this restaurant, whatever, Luogo or something. I couldn't tell you if that was a year ago or 4 years ago, but I can tell you I had the Chianti with the short ribs.
Wow.
Nice. That's just
I got a good
brain.
I can tell you the wine pairing. I can tell you all of
100%.
this.
You've got a good palate. All right, I'm going to have to ask you some what good restaurants are in Nashville?
Man, that's the craziest change in Nashville in the last 25 years.
It really is.
It went from local to these high-end bougie bougie type places.
Absolutely. And it used to be pretty based on barbecue and chicken and stuff.
Pretty much.
And it really wasn't a lot of high-end stuff. There was a place called Zola that I thought of as like, oh, that's the best restaurant in town. It's a standout, for kind of chefy kind of things. And actually, that's Deb Paquette. She has a restaurant now called Etch. Which is outstanding. Mm-hmm. And Etc. is also hers in Green Hills.
Cool. Yeah.
I believe she took some time off and traveled and learned a bunch of new stuff and came back and
that's awesome.
Knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
All right.
I think we went to Etch for my birthday last year. As a matter of fact,
cool.
Larissa took me there, or maybe a couple years ago. See, I'm terrible.
I don't know. You know, 3 years ago, and then you throw in a kid in there, and you're just like, I actually don't know what time.
I've said that so many people. I've said like, gosh, man, I was always having a hard time memorizing stuff, and now it's just like I have no memory whatsoever. Especially daily memory stuff.
Yep.
What
did I just do?
The like cliche husband thing of the wife that's like, oh hey, don't forget to do this later. Oh yeah, no problem. I got
that now.
And then you did that right? Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at notes. Trash, right? Yeah, write it down and put it on the steps or whatever.
Look at this.
Do you have a shared note that you and Haley have of like Justin?
No,
did you do this yet?
It is not. It is not a shared note, but look at before the
pick
record.
Up Ada, take out trash.
Yeah,
yes,
right. Yeah.
Take up trash. Take up trash. Take out trash and pick up my own daughter. I have to put that in my
that basic day-to-day life stuff. Is like, can you actually just give me like a little nudge, just a little nudge to remind me to do that? Would be great.
I have such a horrible memory, though.
We do a family calendar that's a dry erase board. So we went on Etsy and found it, and we did like niece and family like 3 little squares, one for each kid, and then like what are we doing this week? And it's a dry erase one, and we don't have the month on it. So with dry erase markers, you can put the month on it and then erase it every month. And I'm not gonna lie, I live and die
Seems
by
useful,
that. I feel so dumb being like, but seriously, what do we like? If it's like the end of the month, and we're like, hey, let's schedule out a podcast for next month, and I'm like, I can't schedule it until like next week. Why the calendar hasn't been erased?
Gotta check the board.
I'm gonna forget one thing.
I am surprised you don't use the shared Google
Sometimes
or
you have to have hard
Apple
copies because the phone thing, it pops up the alert, and if at that moment I can't do it, and I go, oh yeah, I'll do that in a second. Then I won't do it.
I constantly look at that schedule, like probably every 10 minutes. I look at it and be like, all right.
See, I'm really both, I guess.
I constantly do the like, what do I have next week? Oh, what happened here? Like the constant, like, let me pull up my phone to do one thing. Then you look when you're like, I know there was something I intended to do in the last 30 minutes, and I also am aware that I did not do it.
So the phones are designed.
They are. It's what can steal your attention the most. So that's why I think hard copy is more helpful.
Larissa's all hard copy for everything.
Is she really?
She writes. She will not. I have an app for like the grocery store. And it's like, babe, I can just share this with you.
It'll be really easy.
We both put things on there, and it shows up for both of us when we're at the store. And she hands me a piece of paper.
And you're like,
is it AnyList?
It is AnyList. I love AnyList. Yeah.
Yep.
I've got a Target list. I've got a grocery list. Yeah.
How's Larissa's handwriting?
Way better than mine. It's
okay,
great.
cool. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Because mine's awful, so that's another reason why.
Yeah, I don't want to see my handwriting.
I don't. But if you need a ransom note, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, right.
This looks like a third grader wrote this.
Really though?
Yeah. No one will ever know. How's daycare life going for you guys? Because your daughter's less than 1, right?
She's 9 months today.
9 months? Awesome.
Nice.
Happy
9 months.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're really happy with it. I think she's taken well to it, which is kind of the key, I suppose.
It's helpful.
Is this your first and only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, it was. Larissa was scared at first, the kind of the classic,
which makes sense.
Mom, you know, I hate to leave her.
Yeah.
But she's done well. They both done well with it. Larissa drops her off in the morning. I pick her up in the afternoons.
Yeah.
And it's great. She's generally pretty smiley when we get there, and they do stuff. I like
sleep well.
That she does sleep well.
I was gonna say you look really well rested. So
that's a rare day, but nothing to do with the baby.
For having a 9-month-old baby.
I will say we did a sleep training program, and it was the absolute best decision we made.
Yeah. I wish we would have done that.
Literally everybody I know that's even like, they're going, yeah, I think we'll have kids someday. I'm like, do this sleep program. It's that important, you know?
Because our baby wakes up at least twice a night.
Yeah, my sister's battling it right now too. She's got a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old.
Yeah, horrible.
Yep. I mean, we went through it, of course, because it starts bad.
It's how you got to the sleep training.
But we did the program, and it knock on wood, it worked just like it was supposed to. Weaned her down on the bottles at night and kind of track it and go, oh yeah, every ounce we give her that we take away from her at night, where she's eating in the afternoons, and by the end of a couple of weeks, she was totally no bottles at night. And now we put her down at 7, and she's like, we can barely keep her up.
Yeah.
And she goes right down, and she wakes up about 6 a.m.
Okay.
The next morning. Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
I don't want to say it like I'm a winner, because I fear that means tonight will be the night she's up 7
pretty
times.
much.
Better knock on wood, brother.
But she's been amazing on the sleep thing, and she naps a couple of times. She doesn't nap a lot.
Yeah.
They keep asking us at daycare, like, what is your nap schedule? Because she's like, we don't have one.
Hey, as long as she sleeps through the night.
That's what I keep saying. I say it's great. If she only has like a 30-minute nap.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. She sleeps great at night. That's the important one.
And if she seems happy and she's not cranky about everything.
Yeah.
I feel like it needs
she
to
has
be
her
met.
moments. She's
of
had
course,
a few.
She's a baby.
Yeah, she's on her 2nd round of antibiotics for an ear infection.
Oh, man.
The first round didn't quite get rid of it, so she's been real fussy with that, tugging at her ear all the time. And then she had hand, foot, and mouth.
No.
Which all she got was a rash everywhere except her hands, feet, and mouth.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Which you're a little like... It is that though, because
my son had it and it was only on his crotch and genital area.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's neither hand, foot. It's neither hand, foot, or mouth. So how is this?
But they decided that would be a bad area to name it after.
I get it. The groin rash. Like it doesn't.
Hand, foot, mouth, groin.
Yeah.
We had that once. It wasn't that bad of a case, but it was mostly on his groin. And the entire time I was like, this isn't hand, foot, mouth. Because I had to call in because I was like, hey, he's had this rash on his groin for like 3 or 4 days. It seems like it's blistering and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's hand, foot, mouth disease. And I'm like, but it's not on his hand, feet, or mouths. So how is that a thing? So how did you guys find out you had hand, foot, mouth disease?
One morning when Larissa woke up with her, she was just covered in rash.
Oh no!
Like her face was real noticeable and her back and such. And she woke me up and said, "Hey, I got to take the
We're going
the baby to the pediatrician, and we have to figure this out." And I had to call off work that day to stay home with her.
Yeah,
and they said we think it might be. They're very non-committal these days.
They really are.
They love the it's probably, but I don't want to say for sure.
Yep.
And so she stayed home for it was like a Thursday, and I think she stayed home Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yep.
And of course with her all weekend, and took her back to the pediatrician. And I said, "Yeah, I feel pretty confident that." I'm like, "No, I need a diagnosis. Daycare will not let her back or be on any kind of schedule until I have a diagnosis."
Correct.
And she's like, "Okay, it's hand, foot.
It's hand, foot.
Like, why was that so hard?
Why was that so hard to do?"
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, well, I can. One thing I'll usually tell people if they're about to have a baby is to download an app that helps you track feedings to diapers and stuff.
Yeah,
because whenever you're in there, the docs are like, "When did they eat last?" And you're like,
"Oh, crap.
Well, she,
I think,
and then they come back 20 minutes. And they're like, "But when did she eat last?" And you're like, guys, I still don't know the answer. And my wife is asleep. I'm not going to wake her up.
Right.
That's not. So that's one of those where it's like, all right, cool. I'm just going to start documenting symptoms. When did they last have a fever? This day at this time.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of, she never had a fever.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So she didn't have any of the stuff that they said, well, when it's that too, you'll know. Like, well,
it never
she never had that. She never had the fever. She had just the rash.
That's how Ada was. Yeah. She just had, she was a little
grumpy,
but she just had the rash all around her mouth and on her butt cheeks, I think. Right. And that was about it.
And then hand, foot, mouth.
And well, then I got it.
Yeah.
And that sucked.
Oh, it was brutal.
Oh, man. That was probably the worst thing. I had COVID, but hand, foot, mouth was worse than that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was ready to have. I was like, "Oh, my life's about to be ruined."
Yeah, of course.
And my sister's family all got it, where they everybody. My brother-in-law had it so bad, it was just brutal. She sent me pictures that I immediately choked at, and then she was like, "I didn't send you the bad ones."
Yeah,
oh god,
this is the PG-13 version.
Yeah. So
whenever my third born was born, we got COVID. We got home, and then basically we didn't have much of a sense of smell, but we're like, we have a newborn. I don't know what's happening. And then someone who came and visited us went home and tested positive for COVID. And then we went and tested, and we all had it. But none of us had any stomach issues. We didn't have a fever. We didn't have anything. Just we had a slightly diminished sense of smell.
Oh, wow.
And we're just so that's it.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, I can't smell the coffee.
Is the smell part. A buddy of mine that I'm in a wine club with, he lost his smell for a while.
That's pretty crucial for a wine club.
I know, and he still sort of goes, am I smelling this right? Or am I still having effects of it? So I had it really bad in every way except the smell when I had I've had COVID twice now. And
good for you. Way to do it big.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't want to go out with just one. I got the really bad fever. I had chills all night, super congested, sore throat, but sense of smell is rocking.
I love it for when you have a kid, because I feel like what you want constantly is answers. Because it's do they have hand, foot, mouth disease? Yes or no?
Yeah, why can't I just put drops on a test and it'd say yes or no?
I don't know. And also, it doesn't matter. It's not suddenly you have hand, foot, mouth disease and your daughter's like, oh, by the way, now I'm fine.
Yeah,
now that you figured it out, it's all good.
Well, the daycare's the only place that made a difference.
That's the only one where it matters.
And we had to get a note that said, okay, she's good to go back.
Which also pretty valid for a daycare. To be
we want that. That's what we kept saying to each other. It's like, this is awful, but thank God they're doing this so that we know that the other kids are also getting sent home. Yeah.
When your daycare gets closed because of a stomach bug, you're like, that's valid.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It sucks, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Daycares really are petri dishes.
Yeah, and everybody told us that, and then it's immediately exactly that. Yeah.
I remember, I think it was literally within the first week, Ada gets sick, and then we get it. And it hit us hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, this is super quick for this to happen.
Larissa's been great. I've been the one that's been more sick.
Oh, really?
Larissa's, I think, been pretty sick once, where she had to take some days off work and stay in bed. But I think none of mine have to do with the baby. Now I'm worried more that I'm going to give the baby something that she's going to give me something. I've had 3 sinus infections.
Which aren't contagious, luckily.
No, it's the bacterial kind. And I had the round of COVID that I said, and there was something else. Yeah, I had food poisoning. It was stuff that was this is just so random. But why am I the sickest one in the house with the baby in daycare?
Yes. For your job, I know you're a producer. What else do you do? Do you do tracking, mixing, mastering?
Yes.
You do all three of them?
Yeah, and writing. I write for a publishing company called Big Yellow Dog. Yeah. I've been doing that for, almost a decade now. So yeah, work with both artists and quite a bit of sync as well.
Sweet. Whenever, like, if you are sick, is it pretty inconvenient? Like, whenever you cancel, like, your workday or something like that, how hard is it for you to, like, reschedule all of it?
Easy.
Oh, good.
Not that I take it for granted, but I think I found that there's a lot of cancellation in this business. So it makes me feel less bad about it when I have to cancel. The baby thing is the obvious. Like, all you have to do is say, hey, sick baby, cancel, can you reschedule today? Every once in a while, there's something that's really tough. Like the girl I worked with yesterday had flown in from LA. That would have been an extra bad day to cancel. I've had people fly from London and Australia and stuff.
Seriously?
Like, those are days you really kind of can't cancel.
You're like, yeah, I can't.
But other than that, it's usually, you work with a lot of the same people over again every few months. And so, just get them back on the calendar next time. The worst is just nobody gets mad at you or anything, but the worst is just when you've got somebody writing for an album or something, or, and you're like, oh, there's an opportunity to get a song on this record, and I'm going to cancel, and then the record's going to come out, and I never had a shot at it.
Yeah, so, that was your one chance.
And then you got 2 years to wait for the next chance or something, maybe. So
that sucks.
Yeah.
With Larissa's job being pretty public, do you usually take leave? If Emma's sick at school, are you usually the one who takes care of her if she's sick, or is it more?
I don't know that we've had enough chances to have a usual.
Oh man, I'm sorry, I'm cursing you. You're gonna get only sickness for the next year. Now.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I did this round of Hand and Foot mostly because she had just canceled because she was sick, as I said.
Okay,
so she had taken a couple of days, so it was a bad time for her to say, oh, now I need to take a few more days.
Yeah.
The other thing is I'm not in a corporate job at all. I have no contract. I have no days I have to work.
It's your schedule that you dictate.
I dictated. The only thing I lose by canceling dates is the opportunity to make money. So I need to keep it, but I still get to sort it myself.
Okay, cool.
I work at night a lot after they go to bed. Yeah. So if it's a day, there's a lot of days. 80% of my time I'm just working by myself, finishing tracks, mixing, whatever it is. So a lot of times it's like, oh, I guess I'm with the baby all day, and then I'll work when you guys go to bed.
Yep.
So you have a studio at your house?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. A guy named Dave Mattingly built my studio. He did Curb Studio a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
And so he's really great. I was very, very thrilled with the decision to have a guy that does that every day.
Oh, yeah. That
so
makes
many
sense.
guys, build their own studios, and then they go, is that bass trap really doing what I want it to do? And this is like, no, I walk in there every day and I go, yep, this is what's supposed to be.
Yep.
And if anything sucks, it's my fault, not the room.
Yeah. You can't really blame, if I just hung that baffle a couple inches down, this would be different.
Am I hearing it right? Maybe it's the monitors? No, it's me.
Guess this is a good city to have that type of
There's
business.
There's plenty of those guys here.
Yeah. I find a couple, yes.
I was going to say.
Yeah. I had done a bunch of work at Curb. I was really fortunate to get in with the head engineer there, Craig White, and let me be a fly on the wall on a bunch of projects. I tracked a bunch of stuff there.
Cool.
And so when I was ready to buy a house and build a studio, and he said, hire this guy, he'll do you right.
Sweet.
So it was great.
How'd you end up in Nashville?
I was graduating high school. I knew music was a direction for me. It was kind of a no-brainer. It was just the only thing I want to do.
Yeah.
And kind of random. There was a fiddle player named Doug Hamilton who was on tour on the Brooks and Dunn tour at the time.
Okay.
I forget, there were a bunch of artists on that tour. It was like Brooks and Dunn and Reba and David Kirsch, I think. And I don't remember exactly the whole scenario. At some point he had lived in Oxford. I think maybe he went to Miami, and he was back there visiting. It was like Christmas time, and there's this gig in my hometown that every Sunday forever was like a jam with the John Coggy, and Adrian Martin was part of it. He was my guitar teacher at the time. So I would go up and just jam with him on Sundays, and Doug would come there and he came to sit in. And so I got to hang and talk with him a little bit about stuff. And he goes, man, come down and stay in our guest room and just feel it out.
Yeah.
And it was the best offer. It couldn't have been better timing.
Really cool.
He was on tour, but his wife was just super nice about, just guest room, just come stay here and check out the town and do whatever. So,
and you were like 18 or 19 probably?
I was just about to turn 19, I guess. And then as kind of luck would have it, my cousin, who I grew up with, really close friends with, is also in music. He's 4 years older than I was, and he had been in Minneapolis doing this kind of indie music scene up there. And he was home visiting as well and went, man, I'm just kind of sick of that scene, and I'm thinking about Nashville. And I was like, man, I'm thinking about Nashville, and this guy just offered me a guest room. Let's go. So we both went down and had an air mattress in his guest room, and
it works.
We went around town for like the weekend and just went like, yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And nothing that we looked at that weekend had any influence on anything we ever did. But it just inspired us to say, like, we got to do this. And we moved down here together.
That's sweet.
Yeah, which was pretty great. I mean, it would have been tougher on my own, I think, having a buddy and,
how'd you get, whenever you moved here, what were some of the things you did, like, to get involved with the music scene? Like, were you trying to be a guitar?
Yeah, because it was totally different.
Yeah, were you trying to be like a guitarist?
Yeah, I was full guitar at that time. I've been playing guitar since I was like 5. Yeah. Like I said, my dad was a guitar player. Yeah. To me, my perspective on it was guitar is what I do, and I just want a road gig on guitar. I want to be. I was always into the side guys. I never wanted to be the main guy. My dad was always that, like, we'd be listening to, whoever, it's the Eagles, but he's going, yeah, but check out what the Bernie Leadon's doing there over on guitar, or Jim Croce, and he's like, that's a great song, but the other guy over there, what's he doing?
Jim Croce is a phenomenal example of that, because the guy who ever played guitar with him was always just like destroying.
I hate that I know his name.
I can't think of his name right now. But like Operator, that's not why I called. Like Jim Croce's doing a cool guitar line, but the second guitar line is destroying that song.
Yeah. So I was always wanted to be one of those guys.
You just show up, shred on the track, then peace out.
Yeah. Man, let me be the support. Let me make you sound better.
Yeah, and have fun doing it.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do, and I was really fortunate. I through that guy Doug that I got to crash at his house, I met a couple other players. The guitar player on that tour was a guy named John Carroll, who isn't back in Texas now, but just one of the absolute, literally greatest telly players in the world. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding, big influence on me, and. Less than a year I was here, which is pretty crazy for a 19-year-old. He was going out on a tour with a new artist that just signed to Virgin Records named Chris Cagle.
Okay.
And they're looking for a second guitar player, and he threw my name into it, which is just crazy. Yeah. And I went to do the audition, and they were auditioning a few different guys, and when everybody was leaving, the manager said, hey, stick around, we're all going to talk afterwards. Okay, so they leave. And we're talking, and they're talking, what did you think of the bass player? And maybe the drummer and this and whatever. And I'm like, am I in the band?
Which is also the most music business thing ever. Like, oh, you're here, right? Yeah, man, you're part of it now. You're part of it.
Yeah. And I'm going, I'm 19. This is my first audition ever, much less gig ever.
Yeah. Do I sign a paper? Do I? Is it verbal?
I'm still like, I need to go buy the rest of my gear. And
I only have one pedal.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Were you on cloud 9?
Oh man, absolutely. And they're like, yeah, no, you're in the band. This is it. We're just trying to figure out the whole thing.
Just getting call times in order. That's all we were doing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I literally didn't even have all my gear together. I borrowed gear from Joe Don Rooney from Rascal Flatts. A weird name drop right there. Right, yeah. I had been going down to the Fiddle and Steel Guitar Bar down in Printers Alley, which doesn't exist anymore. Yep. But that was like the place to go in, this was early 2000s. It would be guys who get off the road and go down there to hang. And they jam and play. And I got up a few times and got to sit in and play Haggard or whatever it was, that jam. And I had enough conversations with him that were cool. And he asked me how the audition went, and I was like, it's great, but now I need gear on the road. And he was like, man, I'm not. He was with Shelly Wright at the time, actually. Okay. They were just getting the Flats thing going. And he's like, man, I'm not even using my rig right now because we're doing this radio tour for Flats. Take it. And it was great. It was like a Rivera amp and a couple pedals and stuff. And I was like, man.
You saved me like $3,000.
And cases. That was the other big thing. Because that's the thing you don't think about when you're buying gear to go on the road. You're like, yeah, great. I spent thousands of dollars on this amp. Now I have to spend another $1,000 on a case for it. Yep. But he loaned me stuff. I took it out on the road. I used it for the first maybe 6 months of the tour or something. And then had enough money from the tour to buy. I think I bought exactly all the same stuff. Just Makes sense. It's working, and gave him his stuff back. And then
that's really cool.
I was on that tour. Yeah, it was really great. Talk about just great people. That was early Nashville, where it was just a lot of a really good community of helping people out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
there's no reason that any of those people should have helped me, and it just totally did. And they did set me up for all of this.
Well, you have a career now.
Yeah.
And if that guy wouldn't have been like, hey man, I'll help you.
Yeah.
Who knows what you're like.
Well, and I could have been one of those people that had to go into debt to get the gear or whatever, and it just really set me up.
Speaking of that, I zero about music again. $1,000
and now I can pay for
landscaping. Yeah. $1,000 for.
Well, normally I feel like
is that a acoustic or
so we're talking
electric?
about like
I have no idea.
You basically like if you have a guitar amp, you pretty much get a custom built crate for it.
Right.
So it's like a thing on wheels that you like. It's modeled to your guitar amp, in which
that can fall off of an airplane and be okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like if you buy a guitar amp, the chances of you finding someone who's already built a crate that fits your guitar amp perfectly where it can't get damaged, not really.
It happens.
It happens, but you don't expect it.
Plus, you're thinking about the whole tour here going, well, not only do I need to have my amp in there, I got to have a power supply built in there. And I got to have, a place for them. Like one of the cases I had built had mic stands built into it so that they could just pull the lid off and it was already mic'd up to go for the tour, so stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a whole industry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess so.
I never got involved in it, but it's
they say like, you don't have the gear until you have the case for it because if you take it out and even, I have so many horror stories of musicians with even great cases for guitars, especially acoustic guitars are the thing that always gets just destroyed. I had one destroyed by American Airlines. It's this is a funny story though that you'll relate to. Won't care about.
Sorry, Justin.
I had this.
Sorry, man.
I had this great Takamine that was my main. It was I think they call it like a bluegrass line. Okay. Really, really great guitar that I was using when I was with Joe Nichols touring. That was my main acoustic for Flight 8s and stuff. And showed up at a gig. Of course, it's Murphy's Law. It's like that small airport where there's you can see the guy come out and put stuff down.
You watch him break your acoustic on
and
the
it was literally like flopping in pieces where they needed like two hands to carry the case because it was going to fall apart. Yeah. And you could see the guitar through the broken case. And they set it down and there's, it's like, we go straight to the gig. There is no Guitar Center on the way or anything. So I've got this guitar where the front of the guitar is flapping.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not what guitars are supposed to do.
Yeah, it's awful. We go and it's us. We're playing with I think Leanne Womack.
Okay. Yeah.
And like we should not suck today. And
I really want to try tonight.
Yeah, and this guitar that I'm literally like trying to
it's the percussion
hold with my elbow so it doesn't fall apart.
Yeah, there's no tension on the strings.
Yeah, it was awful. And I ended up getting the guitar. Takamine was great. They immediately sent me another one to make sure I could get through the the rest of the tour. Yeah. They sent it to the hotel where we were.
Nice,
just amazing. Can't say enough about Takamine. It was great, and I love the guitar regardless.
Yeah,
and fortunately, after a long whatever, the airline paid Takamine back for the extra one they sent. It was great.
That's nice.
But I took that guitar. I said this should go in the dumpster, but I'm going to take it to Glazer. Yeah, I'm going to say, just glue this back together enough that I got a beater for around the house.
Yeah.
He glued it back together, and it's now my number one recording guitar.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's something about that guitar now is just magical. It's like, and I always say it has a story now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why.
You hear the backstory of this guitar every time I play it now.
I'm a big fan of the Get Up Kids, or like pop punk emo band from the early 2000s. And one of their songs, like they go into the studio, their lead
I like that
singer,
I'm a musician, and every band you've referenced I haven't known.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He has that.
I'm impressed. But I'm hipster enough to be impressed.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah. So he like restrung the strings on his acoustic. He's like 18, 19, goes in the studio to record it. And the engineer just looks at him and is like, the guitar sounds too pretty for this song. Yeah. You need a guitar that sounds like it fell off a truck. On an acoustic, so he like traded out for another car and it sounds perfect. But like, you buy a guitar and you're like, this is going to sound good on this. Like, now that acoustic needs a story in it.
Yeah.
It needs some wear, it needs some tear.
It's like jeans,
too pretty.
Like we love distressed stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
We want stuff to feel like there was a story to it. There was some heartache.
Well, normally if you do an only acoustic song, it's usually not a happy song. Like it's usually there's some grit to that song. So like to have like a really pretty sounding guitar
you
as
guys
you're sad.
Have that. I do everything outside of music. Well, I mean, I do have a really old 1900s record player.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
That is
I love vinyl.
It's got the door.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
The brass xylophone, whatever it is. Yeah. Yep. It's actually being used as furniture at my office.
Really? That's cool.
Perfect. Love that.
But I have an old sewing machine. I've got that 1890s roll top cherry wood desk as well. I like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love that. So, but as far as guitars or any old stuff like that,
what I'm really hearing here is that if Justin needs to move something, my phone is turned off in that moment.
Yeah.
Just don't.
I hired movers for all of that stuff.
It's very heavy and beautiful.
But yeah, and then I've got my dad's old cedar chest as well.
Okay,
it's really
those
cool.
are really cool, and you look at them and you're like, this is like a piece of art.
Yeah,
they are beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, they're made to last hundreds of years.
They are, yeah.
And you buy something now, and it's
IKEA.
you barely get it put together. It doesn't really go together anyways.
Doesn't.
Why did I have 4 screws left over?
I don't know, but you do. And then you try to find some YouTube videos, and you're like, this didn't help.
Yeah, yeah.
Not explain it better.
I got some furniture from my my grandparents.
Yeah.
And it's like the moving guys were just bitching the entire time because they were like, "Oh my god, we knew when we saw this brand it was going to be the worst day." Yep. I'm like, "Yeah, this is going to last the rest of our lives."
Yeah, so. It's never moving again once you guys get it in here. So thank you.
I literally can't move it.
No,
like the end table by the bed. You know, it's like, oh, I dropped something back there. It's gone.
Yeah, well, you no longer.
I'll never see it again. It's gone.
Might as well just cut the floor out underneath it.
Yeah, it'd be quicker access.
Oh man!
But big shout out to Glacier. I've also gotten because they're in Berry Hill, right?
Yeah.
We live next to Berry Hill, and
what is Glacier? Man, I'm sorry, I'm asking all these questions.
It's a guitar repair shop.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to give them more ad time.
I live in Nashville. I guess I should have better musical knowledge.
There's plenty of us.
I guess.
But more just to say, Glazier's awesome. There's one time one of like the pegs at the end of my acoustic, that holds a string in, broke and fell out, and I couldn't find a replacement. I was like, "Can you guys help me with this?" And they 30 seconds. They're like, "Here, this one works." And I was like, "What do I owe you?" And they're like, "Nothing."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh." That was stressing me out because I was like, how do I fix this?
Yeah,
and
that's old-fashioned business.
Seconds.
Like, we want to get you to come back next time.
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
So, major shout out to them. Only respect.
I just thought of the analogy. Here it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Music is the dandelions. The people, the people that like dandelions?
Yeah.
That's what music is. Because, like, when that perfectly manicured lawn that I wish I had, there's no soul in that.
Yep.
But the dandelions are like the soul, and so that's how people.
I
view
literally
music.
just talked to a client about that because.
Did you really?
Well, all right. She wants me to do her backyard, and she was talking about like I love butterflies. I got bee balm and all these other plants, and I was like, I see clover in your yard. That's awesome. Keep it because that will attract bees and butterflies as well. And she's like, I just sprayed it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, just know, like, a lot of the weeds that are in or that are not acceptable to a lot of people, they're native to this area. Yeah. And they're actually really beneficial for
it makes sense,
for our ecosystem. And they have no idea that they're killing, like, something that could bring bees, bring butterflies. But,
Do you know who Monty Don is?
No.
He's like a British gardener.
Okay.
And he's awesome. He does like small garden spaces. It's like watching the Great British Bake Off, but it's a gardener. So you just watch him.
Is this just your thing that you reference people that nobody else knows?
It's what I'm here for.
No matter what career I
have. 100 episodes to get
naming off things that I don't know, so naming off things he doesn't know.
You were Google searching the least popular.
Actually, you can check my computer. I've not typed on it yet. But he has like a mentality of like usually things that we consider like weeds in a garden or just culturally what has been labeled as a weed is not necessarily that like it is a weed. It's like no. Yeah. We as a culture have said we don't like this.
Yeah, a weed is just an undesirable plant.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all it is. But I totally understand that. That makes sense. It has to have some soul. It has to be living.
Have some mess.
Yeah.
You got to bring the butterflies.
Yeah. Bring the butterflies.
Yeah, my neighbor has an immaculate lawn. The people that lived there before were retired, and dude was just lawn every day. Just lawn life. That was his life. And even though they've moved out, she's getting the benefits of that, and it's just like this. There's like such a clear line between where my lawn ends and her
But there's
begins.
something beautiful about that. It's that like the English style gardens.
Yeah,
like Monty Don.
Like I guess so. The cottage style, the ones where it's a little bit messy. It's not. It's not pristine, and that is something that I'm in the landscape business. Every property manager thinks that every shrub needs to be trimmed.
Yeah, right. It's
within its life, and I'm like, most shrubs are not supposed to be trimmed like that.
Yeah,
only like some boxwoods, tighten them up a little bit, but that is it. Everything else is supposed
we have
to
like the opposite career going then, because like with music, I find the opposite. Everybody wants everything dandelions, and like I have to battle a little bit to polish.
Oh man,
it
is
the '80s basically ruined polishing music forever. and I love 80s music. That's like my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything became so polished, and then that polish became associated with like big hair and all the things we needed to get rid of. And so now everything needs to have a lack of polish to feel like it's authentic.
Yeah. Well, everybody in the property manager wants it to look like Disneyland.
Yeah, right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they don't understand if you cut the tips off of hydrangeas or abelias, you're cutting off all the flowers that are make the shrub make the shrub look beautiful.
Or out where Larissa's from in California, where it's mostly fake grass now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Artificial grass.
They have such a water limit.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's changed at all with the way they've gotten some
I wouldn't think so.
weather this year, but I'm doubting that's been
I would lean towards this more AstroTurf.
Yeah. But yeah, like, that's all it is everywhere. Yeah.
Well, it was funny. I took him to a Nashville SC game like a year or two ago, and it was like right when the stadium had opened, and you were like looking at all the trees they had planted, and you were like, most of these trees won't survive.
Yeah.
I like hadn't looked. I was like, oh, I just saw a tree. I didn't know.
Yeah.
If
that's
it was
the
like
biggest
alive
thing
or not.
that Larissa freaked out about when she started coming here to visit more and then moved here. Was she's like, oh, it's so green, and we drive somewhere, and she's like, it's green over there too.
There are a lot of trees here.
Those are trees, babe. And to her, it's just like, I can't believe how green it is.
Right
everywhere.
Right now, it is so beautiful outside
bursting,
with how much rain we've gotten, and the temperatures have been really great.
I saw recently that Nashville is now the 7th rainiest city in the
I don't
country.
doubt it, man.
It sure feels like it.
It does.
Yeah.
I feel like it's overcast quite a bit.
Yeah. And that's one of the differences, and maybe my perspective's different because when I was 20, I didn't care as much, but man, it didn't feel like that when I moved here 25 years ago.
I do think having a kid makes you view weather patterns very
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. We can't go outside.
No, because it is like, all right, it'd be nice if we just did like a 20-minute walk in a stroller or something like that. Oh, it's raining. When's it stop raining? It doesn't.
Yeah, the walk, we've got a couple of dogs too, so not being able to walk the dogs makes a difference. Larissa has no ability to adjust to that because she grew up in Calabasas, was always beautiful. Oh, man. So she wants to make plans all the time. Then I'm like, well, we'll have to see.
Yeah, day of, we'll see if they happen.
Like at one point, her best friend was going to fly out here for her birthday, and she's like, oh, and I want to book a rooftop place. I'm like, babe, it's December. You're not going to be on the rooftop.
You can visit the rooftop, and 10 minutes later, you'd be like, okay, it's really cold.
Yeah, bring a jacket.
Yeah. That's awesome. What? Because have you only lived in Nashville and in Ohio?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I've only lived 2 places. I mean, I've had a few different places here, but
but city-wise,
the only 2 cities I've actually fully lived in.
Yeah.
Although I was on tour for 16 years.
You've seen some stuff.
Yeah, when I first moved here, I was here for almost a year and then got that tour and toured pretty solidly for almost 16 years. And
nice.
So I kind of did the went everywhere and saw nothing.
Yeah.
Did you tour outside of?
The States?
The States?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Oh, awesome.
I went to Australia 4 times, which was one of my favorites.
Cool. That's cool.
Loved Australia. Everywhere except Asia. Somehow I never went to Asia on
Does
any
Asia
of the tours.
have many concerts?
There's a significant country music festival in Japan.
Really?
That everybody does, and somehow I just never was on that tour.
Japan, country music, interesting.
It's different to them though because it's more of a novelty. Like they show up. I've seen pictures, and other people that have done the tour have told me about it. Like they come to the show and they've got like plastic guns and spurs and stuff.
Are you?
So it's like a gimmick. It's
I mean that feels a lot like Japanese culture, anyway.
It's just over the top.
Like pink cowboy boots with fake guns and spurs and a badge that says sheriff. And, that's
a costume.
It's everything's the Vegas show version of it. But that's the only thing I didn't do. But I got to go all over Europe. Quite a bit of festivals there. Ireland was amazing to tour.
Ireland would be really cool to go to.
That was one of my favorites.
I guess in Asia, Japan's the only place I think you would play because I couldn't imagine doing country music in like
North Korea.
India, North Korea,
or
China. I can't imagine being welcomed there to film.
Welcome American culture.
I don't
Well, the only thing I'll say is that everywhere has a military base.
Oh, cool. That makes sense.
So I did quite a bit in the Middle East.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
I've been, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah.
There, because like I said, there's a military base everywhere.
Oh, okay, yeah. Would you ever play for the troops?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Pretty much.
That's why I
that's
figured.
all
Making
those
sure.
were.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Saudis are not huge on country music, I hear.
I wouldn't think so. Most country music isn't big on Saudis.
Yeah. How about that?
They don't mesh very well.
Yeah, boot up the ass songs for some reason don't translate well.
Yeah, rest in peace. So I did those USO tours. They're actually
That's really cool,
AFE
though.
rather.
Okay.
Armed Forces Entertainment.
Yeah.
I did one that was a month long over there that was pretty crazy and scary at moments.
Was that early 2000s?
It was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can make some assumptions. Yeah.
It was weird. It was real high ups and downs because like Dubai is amazing. It's one of the most amazing cities. I had a blast there.
Oh my god!
And then the next month you were trying to avoid fire.
Yeah,
gunshots.
There's literally one night we were sleeping and we were on base and like alarms going off woke us up, took us down to some kind of bunker because they were getting rounds incoming. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is.
Yeah,
and that was in Dubai as well.
That was Fallujah.
Fallujah.
That was in Iraq.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Pete. That's a cool story.
I remember getting back from that trip and at the airport and getting off of the military escort and stuff, and people going, "Thank you for your service,"
and being like
not
the person you want to be thinking.
With this.
Yeah.
I entertained some guys.
Yeah.
I didn't mess up the chord progression.
Yeah, man, what those guys lived through is pretty awful.
Yeah,
it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're super disconnected.
Yep.
And music that was like the best thing to just have some band come and play music. They were over the moon. To have that kind of entertainment is cool. And I don't know. I mean, that was early enough that we were talking like pre-iPods or early iPod era.
Yeah, it's like 2004.
Yeah, I mean now I'm sure all those guys have iPods and
probably
watch Netflix and stuff. Not that it's a glory life now, but but back then they had nothing. Yeah. They wanted us to sign a CD to leave.
Man,
a little different.
That's pretty cool.
Than Spotify, in which I have access to every song I could ever possibly want.
You could ever imagine.
Compared to like, my CD broke.
I hate for them to get a shout out on this podcast, but yeah.
I do too.
All right,
even
so
though I use them. But yes.
you probably know more about this than I know zero. For Spotify, it's so easily accessed. You don't really. I don't think I pay anything.
Do you have ads?
Yes.
Then you don't pay anything.
Yeah. And I don't make anything. So
I was going to say, do the artists make anything off of that?
Not really. Not a living wage.
Gotcha.
I mean, fractions of pennies. I mean, I get statements, and they say they would be like 0.0007 for this or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not paying for daycare.
Gotcha.
No, it's not.
Now, before Spotify, like on the radio,
the math was a lot better. We
better?
had radio. I'm not necessarily the expert on this. I'm not really on the business side of it, so to speak. But I do see my statements. Hard copies. When it was vinyl, when it was CDs.
Yeah.
Even downloads. When it shifted to the Apple
Apple
iTunes
store,
thing. When it was $1 and then it went to $1.29, I think, for a single. Which is funny to think about when you think about like a Beatles single was like $1.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, in this many generations, there was no inflation in music like there was. And literally, there's been more inflation in the last year in groceries than there has been since the 60s in music.
And you still also had people complaining like, why do we pay $1 for this song?
Gosh. Nah. She loves you, yeah. Gosh.
Not for $1, she
69 cents, yeah. So it at least when you sold a record, you said, well, there's this many dollars for it's $15 about for like a CD.
Yeah, usually.
That's what it felt like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that there was a percentage. Every record has what they call them points, which is basically just a percentage that goes to different. It's assigned to different people. So like as a producer, I get 4 points on the record. The artist gets a number of points. I don't know what they all are.
It's a pie that's all divided up.
Yeah. The label gets a percentage of points, and that money just gets split amongst the people. But then when you're talking about a stream, and as far as I'm aware, there's a lot of loopholes in streaming too, because there's like somebody listened to just the first verse and chorus.
If Spotify's taught us anything, there's a lot of loopholes in paying people for their music.
They love loopholes. So there's a lot of times somebody listens to a song and nobody makes any money because it didn't even calculate as a stream.
Oh, wow.
You know, what is a stream? Is it 100% of the song? Do you have to listen to the last second of it? Is it halfway through at least? Or I don't even know what the metric is for that. I don't know. I don't even know that I know anybody to ask.
I know the metric for our podcast is if they press play on it, it counts as a download.
Really?
Which we still don't get paid for any of it. But like at least it's like, well, at least this many people pressed play on the episode.
That's good to know.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought it was you had to like listen to like he said.
No, it's if you downloaded the episode and played it at any point in time.
I haven't thought about this a lot, but I wonder what it should be for music. You know, should it just be hit play? Because I don't know if that makes sense either. Yeah. Because a lot of times stuff's coming up that I didn't choose.
Man, it's just getting more and more complicated. Yeah, what it sounds like.
I feel like YouTube ends up paying the most. I feel like they pay out the most from what I've heard, as opposed to Spotify. Right. But also, it's like
YouTube's great at demonetizing too. Though they love to go, no, we decided you're not making money this much,
and it's still like, hey, you can do about it. You had 1,000 views, so here's $3.
Yeah,
so they're not paying out a ton, but it's like I feel like they're the most consistent. Of like, here's the metric.
I use Apple Music because I like the sonics of it better.
Oh, okay,
I don't think that their algorithms are as good for recommending music as Spotify. I think that's where Spotify is really excelled.
That's why you don't know any of my references.
That's what it is. So listen to the same Boston record.
That's right. Our ecosystems of algorithms are different. That's
I do think that's where Spotify excels, which I think is great. You know, I want the features of Spotify. Yeah. I don't want Spotify to die. I just want the musicians that actually make the content that goes on that platform to make not only some money, but the most money. I mean,
pretty much a living off of it. Maybe.
Yeah. You know, and there's got to be a way to do that.
Yeah.
So I guess Spotify just rakes in the money then.
Well, I know, like, let's say if Spotify raises their subscription $1, that like a month, that dollar doesn't go to like the artist. Like, it's not like suddenly like Dan gets an extra $1.
Well, it's interesting too because there isn't an exact parallel in the streaming world of TV.
Yeah,
because you have it's split out on so many platforms that are discrete. You know, a show that you can watch on Netflix, you can't watch anywhere but Netflix. So you have to have a Netflix. You have to have
exclusivity, basically,
an Amazon Prime, a Hulu, Paramount Plus, all these
the never-ending list.
Yeah, it is insane.
But you'd almost need that. You're like, no, I need an 80s rock, subscription. Oh, I guess I'm going to need a modern pop subscription. Yeah. Oh, there's my jazz subscription. You know, I don't know how you do that in the same way in music. But,
I don't think you do.
But I don't think you can. And you know, you love that it's all right there to listen to.
It's very convenient.
So, yeah. They also can go on strike in TV, and there's no way musicians are ever going to be that organized.
Not really.
We don't have a Fran Drescher to pull us together.
Yeah, that's right. A Fran Drescher. Don't here's where we show up for the protest. Wait, what time was I supposed to show up for the protest?
Oh,
I can't make it that day. That's a bad time. Because you do mostly studio musicians, right?
I am now. Yeah, okay, I'm fully off the road.
Cool. Yeah. Which, I mean, studio musicians are like,
this
is my job.
But even when I was touring, the guys out, you know, you can say what you want about the artist or whatever, but the band guys still have to be on time. Or you get left.
Yep.
You know, you don't make the flight, you know, or you got that oil spotted. Oh, you got oil spotted. He didn't make the bus. He just showed up in an oil spot. You know, so, and you're talking about when I was on tour, like the last 8 years I did was with Joe Nichols. Okay. I was his music director and lead guitar player. And most of those guys were married.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to get home to our families and stuff. It wasn't a party.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was a job.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work sometimes. You know?
Yeah. When did you transition from that?
I'm the worst with dates and such, but something like 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
I was fortunate timing. I was getting to my point where I don't think I can do this touring anymore. I'm worn out. My back hurts.
Yeah.
I bet it was exhausting.
Yeah. You kind of like don't have a choice but to burn the candles at both ends. Yeah. You get off stage, let's say you play a club, and by the time you get off stage, it's almost midnight. And then by the time the crew loads all the gear, it's 3 a.m. before you're rolling. And then you get dropped off at 5 a.m. at the airport to catch a flight to go do a TV show or to go to some acoustic promo thing or something.
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
You just, it's funny, you're bringing it back to the dad thing. Yeah. That's what I thought being a dad was going to be like. When we're coming into having the baby, I thought, oh man, this is going to be like when I was doing those tours where you're constantly trying to like grab a nap, for an hour at the hotel before sound check, and then grab a nap for an hour before the show and whatever. And somehow it doesn't feel anything like that. It somehow still feels worse. There's a different.
It's a different level of exhaustion.
Yeah, there's a buddy I used to tour with that he was like, it doesn't feel like that at all, does it? And I was like, no, it doesn't.
It's
that's exactly what I thought it was about. Somehow it's still more exhausting.
It is. I feel like we've talked about that with multiple guests of like, I pulled all-nighters in college.
Yeah,
I had awful sleep habits whenever I was in my 20s. But then you have a baby and you're just like,
some of it's
what
the
have I
age thing.
done?
I do go, crap, that's why being an old parent sucks. Now I get it.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My first kid was at 28 and I still don't feel like I was like just filled to the brim with energy.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
44.
44. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm on the old end for it, and I feel it in my back and neck and stuff. The picking her up all the time.
Yeah.
She loves to do the like, no, it's really important. You have to pick me up.
Yeah.
And, and you're like,
loses their mind, and you're like, I guess I have to pick you up.
That's it. Yeah, I guess for everything I'm doing now on is one-handed.
Dude, start working out. Yeah. Start doing those motions.
Larissa got the belt thing that has like a little platform.
Oh yeah.
So it's really great to just pick her up and then you can kind of just rest her on the platform while you're
you don't have
doing
hips.
everything else. Yeah,
don't have hips.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's what that is.
It's a shelf. The hip is a shelf for the baby. So not so much.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like you've mentioned that a lot of, it's been a while since I've had a newborn, but like, I feel like you've mentioned that a lot of like, you felt like you prepared for everything. And then the sleep deprivation was just like everything you thought you understood. F you, basically.
Yeah.
You're just screwed until the kid turns like 6 months old.
Well, and part of it's like when you're on the road, I mean, I had a tour manager and stuff, and the responsibility didn't feel the same. It was like, I just got to set my alarm, and as long as I get up,
I'll roll out of bed and I'll be fine.
You didn't have a small human that you had to make sure was alive.
Yeah, I know how to play guitar, and I know how to keep a baby alive, or not at all the same on level of importance.
Holding the neck of a guitar versus holding the neck of a newborn.
Oh my God, totally different.
If I drop the guitar, it'll. I might break.
Glazer cannot put it back
together. You're bringing Emma to Glazer's being like, it worked with the other stuff I brought you.
Please.
Sir,
this is a baby.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But yeah, the stakes are so drastically different.
Yeah. And even the moments that, sorry to cut you off, even the moments that you could relax, you can't because you're thinking about why you need to pay attention to something. Like I remember when she was really fast to roll over.
Okay.
And she could roll to her stomach, but then not to her back. So we had that like every night. We put her down, and you look in the camera, she's immediately on her stomach, and it just looks like she's face buried in the thing. Like immediately every night. Yeah, and that's all you can think is like she's suffocating.
This is how my baby dies.
And I have like so many nights of me like sneaking in there with a flashlight to just look and see that there's enough of a gap on her nose to the bed to be like, okay. And then we ended up getting one of those straps that tells you that they're breathing, which is just the absolute greatest thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, you're like licking your finger, putting it in front of her mouth to see if she's breathing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, signs of life.
Did you have one of those straps?
No, I didn't. Parenting opens up so many doors of anxiety that you didn't know
that's what it is.
Where you're just like, was this thing still breathing?
The anxiety and the sleep deprivation.
Those like a level that you've never experienced before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then suddenly you're also like, well, how do I be kind to this thing that I'm terrified I'm going to break?
Right, and you want to like be positive about things.
Yeah.
And not just worried that you're going to kill it somehow.
Yeah. I try. I do struggle with the frustration side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and I go, oh my God, really? I just put you in that. Now oh, come on.
Yeah. It's hard to keep your cool. The classic, you finally, it's like wintertime, you have your kid bundled up, you put them in the car seat, you buckle it in, and then you hear them just let loose completely into their diaper, and you're like, now I have to undo everything I just did.
We haven't really had that yet because we haven't had a winter with her old enough to do anything.
But,
we'll find out.
Yeah. You just basically, I feel like you just learn how to study like monks basically and how to stay zen.
Yeah, I do need some meditation.
Because you just have your little like garden of just like everything will be broken, everything will be undone, I will be okay, everything will be okay. I'm so mad.
I'm starting to freak out now with this new one coming on board. I'm trying to stay.
Are you trying to stay positive?
Yes.
Congrats. That's awesome.
I'll have a baby boy end of October.
Oh wow, congrats.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Thank you. But yeah, Haley's freaking out. She was like, "Are you going to do what you did last time?" I'm like, "No,
I understand." I think when
I went down a deep dark hole.
When you have a kid, your identity changes so much.
Of course.
And then you're like, well, how do I rebuild my identity? But also now I have to take care of something and I have no mental bandwidth to do anything. But also I'm completely like redefined. And how do I do that? And sometimes, you need some meds to help you figure that out.
But it's also I'm stubborn as hell and didn't want to change
Yeah.
I was one of those guys. I was one of the last to have a kid out of my group of friends. And I remember always saying to them, man, why'd you change so much when you were a father? Like,
it's not that big of a
when
deal.
I become a dad, I'm going to be exactly the same and I'll be cool. And then trying to still have that mentality and it not working at all.
I thought that for stuff in the house. I was going, we're not going to be one of those where like there's just junk all over the place and just toys all over the floor.
Yeah, man, good luck.
And like, the changing table that we're going to find places to put it and then we'll pull it out when we need it. Yeah, that just completely
Upstairs
out the window.
Upstairs will be the kid area, downstairs will be the grown-up area.
Just
it'll
not
be great.
even close. You can barely walk through.
Why'd you buy this new piece of furniture? Well, we need somewhere for all the kid stuff that's downstairs now.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, everything everywhere all the time.
Basically.
And you need everything immediately somehow.
You do.
Yep.
Yeah, there is no like, oh, give me a minute to go get that.
It's like, do you have the pacifier? What's the pacifier?
Where did I put it?
Yeah, everything is DEFCON 4.
It is.
Just, yeah.
Without question, just constant
right now,
attacks.
it is her. She has a little Frozen like book set, and the Kristoff book is like her pacifier now. It is a book, and we're like, where's the book? Where's the damn book at?
Did you move it? Don't you give me that right now?
She has a shaker that she loves.
What?
Yeah, I called her security shaker. But it's like one of those little egg shakers.
Yeah.
And that's her thing. That's her.
Interesting.
Like, I gotta have that. I try to keep it handy in the car. We've got like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Has to sleep with it too?
She doesn't sleep with it,
Okay.
but it's the thing that'll immediately make her go, ooh, what's this?
It distracts her.
Yeah.
And resets her.
And like she'll even... she'll be on the floor starting to get fussy, and Larissa will start to walk over with the shaker, and you can see her start bouncing like, here comes my shaker.
Yeah, like
That's
pure
awesome.
glee.
And I try to I've been really trying to get her into music already, which has sort of gotten me into music.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the best things about the kid is having, that like start over again on all the like passions in life.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I work on music every day. I don't leave the studio and start listening to Van Halen.
Anything?
Yeah, I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Listen to you guys.
Thank you.
But so to get in the car, I thought, you know what? Starting day one of the first day I'm picking her up from daycare, I'm going to put the Beatles on.
Yeah.
And I'm going to listen to every Beatles song with her, through our drive home. And it's about a 20-minute drive home. I mean, that's how we get through a few songs every time. And I just only recently abandoned the Beatles and shifted to, she's on to Billy Joel now.
Nice.
Which is an interesting shift.
Yeah.
Man, I should have done that because all she listens to is Frozen. And,
that's one of my theories. Is that
The Lion King.
My parents listened to great music growing up, and we didn't really listen to kids' music.
Yeah.
And so I think I could get her to be that way too.
It has everything. I think it has a big portion of the parents and the music that they listen to, and whether or not they just kind of.
There's only one great crossover there, and that's the Imogen Heap song. What's it called? It's something really like the Happy Song or something like that.
Okay.
Oh shoot, I should look it up though. It's so worth it. It was literally scientifically made to be perfect for babies.
Oh, seriously?
Did you know Imogen Heap?
Oh, of course.
All right, she's incredible.
Yeah,
she's actually
of course,
huge fan. I've seen her live 3 or 4 times.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I bet that's really
just
cool.
crazy. Just such a talent. Yeah, it's called the Happy Song.
Okay.
And they somebody, I don't even remember who came up with it. Some organization hired her to write this song. She did a bunch of different drafts, and it has a lot of sound effects in it, train whistle and stuff like that, and all these like kind of plinky xylophone type sounds.
Yeah.
And they would play sections of it for kids, like a focus group, and so which ones do they respond to?
Oh, interesting.
And then, okay, let's make an adjustment. Let's do more train noises and less bells or whatever the thing that was. And so they kind of engineered it to be that.
They marketed their
song. I am telling you,
Wow.
she can be crying, and I put that song on, and she's like,
fascinating.
what is this?
The
and
happy
just stares. I've got pictures of her just staring at, and she's not a TV kid at all. I mean, there's nothing that she watches.
Yeah. Now, Justin, as someone who listens to constant weird and sad music, you hope that you get your kids to listen to cool music, but then they go to school and their friends listen to music, or they're in gym class and like they do something and the teacher puts on Kids Bop, and then they're like, "This is amazing." And then I'm like, "Kids Bop isn't on my phone." And they're like, "That's not true." And so then that's what it's the.
I hadn't even thought about the peer influence. The peer influence is way bigger than the parent influence.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That's how we started watching Frozen stuff. Is because we didn't watch any Disney.
That's how
stuff
I ended up with an MC Hammer tape at some point in my life. Damn it!
You aren't a big MC Hammer fan?
Busted.
Oh, dude.
Not legit.
No, I did meet MC Hammer once.
Did you really?
Yeah, he was nice. Yeah.
Oh, I bet it was. That's nice. Cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's where, because we didn't really watch Disney stuff. Then we sent them to a daycare, and they're like, "We want to watch Frozen." And I'm like, I knew this moment would come. I knew this would come.
But you also can't have them be the weird kid that didn't get to.
No, of course not. And we also have access to Frozen, and Frozen isn't awful. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, there's probably pick your battles.
There are, and that's not one of them.
Yeah.
Lion King is where she's at right now.
I'm assuming cartoon and not live action.
She does both.
I was going to ask the same question.
It's funny. She'll watch the cartoon up to a certain extent, and then she'll say, "Okay, the other one."
Really?
And then we'll watch the other one.
Switches worlds.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, actually.
It's kind of Wizard of Ozzy.
Yeah, it goes into color.
She's super smart. I mean, she knows all the animals as well.
Yeah.
So when we go to the zoo, like my parents came in town last weekend, they took her to the zoo, and they came back. She's like, she knew every single animal.
That's actually
awesome.
really cool. That is a fun thing as your kid gets older, is whenever they can actually start to communicate, like, and you're like, oh, you've been paying attention this whole time, and now you can communicate it.
Yeah.
This is a lot more fun than you just screaming at me.
I keep thinking that's the different phases that dads versus moms like. Yeah. I'm excited for when she's old enough to do things.
Yeah, man.
Show her things like do I start with episode 4 of Star Wars, or do I go like Phantom Menace? I don't know. It's really important.
It's really important.
Like those are the kind of decisions I need to figure out.
I don't know if Josh is going through this right now, but Ada is in a certain. She was wanting me, loved me, but now, like, she wants her mama to rock her. She wants her
to be a phase thing, right? Because she was definitely everybody. Oh, she's such a daddy's girl, and I could really comfort her. And if she, like at one point when she was feeling sick, all she wanted to do was like bury her head in my chest. It was great.
Oh man!
And she's lately. There's even been some times, not necessarily not me, but just especially Larissa. You know, like
it's not that you're bad. It's just that I met
I'll
Larissa.
Take dad, but is mom handy? Oh, there's mom. I'd rather have mom. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so there are multiple times.
Are you? I've wondered what that's like because I've considered that as I work from home anyways, and it wouldn't be a big transition to just not make music. You know,
it's fun for you. So I have a 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Did you see Mr. Mom?
I did not. The Michael Keaton. No,
you have to. It's well worth it.
I know.
That was my inspiration.
That was it. That's awesome. No, it was mostly because of daycare costs, and like I'm not much of a career aspirational person. Sure. Where like I was never.
Your wife is?
Yeah, basically.
What does she do?
She works for a company that brokers beverage deals. Like, if Vanderbilt wanted to switch from Pepsi to Coke, Coke to Pepsi, her company knows how to basically negotiate that deal for those companies. So, and then she makes sure that the deals are actually acted out. So like she's in Philadelphia actually right now at the airport because one of her clients is the Philadelphia airport getting badged so she doesn't have to go through security whenever she goes to Philadelphia airport. Wow. So like that's her job. And she has career aspirations.
Yeah, I had to quit too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like she made 3 times what I made.
Yeah, you do
and
your
it's
thing.
like, what am I doing? Like, and like I would hold like I feel like I was middle management. Where like I'm too much of a smart ass to be elevated to the next level.
Tell me about
it. A lot of people can relate. Yeah. So yeah, like after like we had 2 kids in daycare, and it was basically my entire paycheck was just for daycare.
Yeah, right.
And just stress constantly. And then after a while, I was like, so why do I work? And she was like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense for you to work. We'll take a hit financially for a bit, and then like it's more worth it for the sanity that comes of one parent being able to focus on family stuff and one parent to be able to focus on career stuff. But
as long as you don't become the 60s like housewife that's jaded because all you did was take care of the kids.
I'm just sitting home smoking cigarettes, staring at the doorway.
Chardonnay
He does wear an apron every once in a while.
I don't actually wear an apron. That's a consistent fight between Heather and I because I bake all the time, but I never put on an apron. She's like, there's an apron hanging here just put on. I'm like, but it takes effort. And she's like, it doesn't really take any effort. Just put the apron over your head. And I'm like, yeah, but I have to walk over to the apron. And she's like, that's a really bad reason.
Yeah. Cooking is my passion too.
Oh, really?
Not baking, but favorite cooking is. Yeah, so I relate to that.
Yes, but I think a lot of my natural things of like I'm not a career aspirational person. I'm cool with just sitting around with kids at home and going on adventures throughout the day. Cooking, grocery shopping has never been something that has been a mental stress for me.
Yeah,
and something like Heather being able to figure out like, all right, if I work in this way, I get more opportunities and then we get paid more and stuff like that is something that her brain is better working at.
Yeah.
So to some extent, we feel like we're playing to our strengths.
Of course. Yeah.
As opposed to like me holding down a job that paid for daycare.
Yeah. Or some ancient version of her having to not do this great job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that she can take care of the kids.
Correct. Yes. And realistically, if a kid, even still me being a stay-at-home parent, if a kid gets sick at school, they call Heather. And I'm like, I'm at home. I'm at the parent-teacher conference. I was like, hey, I'm a stay-at-home parent. If a kid throws up at school, call me.
Call me first.
And there have been times where she's like in DC doing a meeting. She's like, hey, Magnolia threw up at school. And I'm like, I'm sorry they called you. Like, I don't know what else to communicate in this scenario.
Oh, man,
it's going to be a long time before that doesn't.
It basically is so.
I think it would be that way for us. I'm much closer to daycare. That's why I pick her up. And Larissa's at the station across town. Yeah. So, but they'd still call her first. I'm
Pretty
sure.
much.
Yeah.
And you're like, but
of course, she's more likely to answer than I am anyway. So it's probably better.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you would have been working in something that like you went to school for, would that have been a different scenario?
So I don't know.
Because that's something that you really are passionate about.
I care about it a lot, but also I never actually got a job as a recording engineer. So I actually don't know what the schedule and life was like, because like the level that Dan's at is like after being on the road for like 15 years, paying your dues, in which you can open his home studio and you have enough connections in which you can do like a daytime job with it. So I would have had to have done all that work to get to there. And I feel like Heather and I's relationship would have been drastically different.
The only thing I'll say, and not to sound like I'm contradicting you, I felt like I started over in a new career.
Okay.
Now, all of that time and work was music related, where I became better at what I did.
Yeah.
I couldn't have come to Nashville and done what I do now just because I had no ability to understand what the skill set involved was. And not that there weren't some sort of connections that made that possible. Yeah. But it felt like the road gig and the writing / production gig are just two completely different worlds that barely cross over, except that you're making music.
I could think I have the assumption that since people like you have been on the road and stuff, you are well versed in how things work pretty well. So then it would make
the knowledge part, but not so much anything else. It didn't feel like a path that went from getting better and better in the touring thing, and then that connected straight into getting better and better. And it felt like, okay, cool, I'm going to take a huge hit and start over again in a new career. Cool. Because like when I was finishing up with Joe, as band leader, I was on salary. Yeah. So even the months we weren't touring, I had a paycheck coming in. Yeah, nice. To go from that to going, now I'm going to go completely freelance.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to have no salary, no checks unless it's something I hustle for and do the work. Yeah. So that was a big change.
Yeah, that is.
And it was a totally different people. And I had to really rebrand. Mm-hmm. I would get some calls to just play guitar in sessions, and I go, that's not what I'm doing.
That's not me anymore.
Yeah, I'm a producer now. And then it didn't really click with me until I got like a few years in, and people will go, who are you going to get to play guitar on this? I'm like, cool, I rebranded. They think I'm just a producer now.
That makes sense.
And I can play guitar, and it doesn't matter. But yeah, cool. I think that was important, actually. Okay. Yeah. I think there's a real view in this town of, at least there was. I think this has gone away a bit, but when I was doing, especially 20 years ago, man, it was like, oh, no, he can't produce. He's a road guy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think that was just very different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have other friends who...
That's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. That's why I jumped in on that.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I'm glad you did. I have other friends who used to play on the road and play guitar and stuff, and now they're more or less session musicians where they've built out a home studio and stuff. But I know from talking to them, if they hadn't done all the work on tour or gone touring for like a decade or a decade and a half, they wouldn't have gotten the credentials, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, for people to trust them with guitar parts so they can just turn
that's
out
for sure. Yeah.
But if you're producing, you're right, that's a completely different element than, hey, I've got this song, can you add a guitar lick here?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I think I really shifted because I'm not really a guitar player anymore. I do play guitar.
You enjoy it, but
I do whole sessions where I never touch a guitar. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'll have like a really challenging part come up for something, and I'm like, oh my God, my calluses are peeling. That's how long I go between playing.
Yeah.
But all that to say, Justin, if I was doing a job that I was more motivated and passionate about, would it have been different? I don't know. I feel like it would have depended on how much money I made on it. Yeah. Because it was a very financial decision.
Man, the kid thing makes financial decisions totally different.
How much do I really care about this?
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, there's projects like that, Yeah. I mean, talking to Big L Dog even about like what they book me on. And when I first started there, it was like, book me on everything. Yeah. I don't care. Like, I'll try everything and see how it goes. And then it got to the point where it was like, well, let's be a little strategic about it, but I still want to take chances. And now it's like, no. How many records did they, how many streams have they had?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to be worth my time.
Not worth my time.
Yep.
You know your value.
Yeah. I'm tired.
Yeah.
No,
maybe a little bit of both. You can't afford to waste time. Yeah. You can't afford to have the day where I'm like, well, we just paid however much today for her to be in daycare.
And I
made
value.
$0 because this is going nowhere.
There seems like a lot of uncertainty in your industry.
There is.
Oh, man. Talk about, statement of the year there. Yeah. I can't imagine a more uncertain industry.
Well, it's also so like it's out of your control. So you record a song, you release it, and if it catches fire, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. But then also, what's your next one to keep the fire burning? Or you release something and no one pays attention to it.
Absolutely, all of those. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, 100% of the time, it's about the team that's doing it and the story around the song more than it is about the song.
Yes.
And I learned that the hard way through this publishing company. I remember coming to my boss, Carlo, at one point saying something about a song that I've been a part of that I just thought, this is so good, it's obviously going to do something. You know, and just kind of how I had it in my mind. Like, man, we knocked this out of the park. It's so good. And she said, having hits is not about good songs. It's about relationships. Okay. I was like, oh. And that's really stuck with me. And I go like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. You can write the greatest song ever written. And if you didn't have the relationship with everybody, the label has to be behind it. Yep. The social media team, the artist, of course, has to get behind it. Because sometimes, you know, just timing. Like, I produced a record that debuted at #1 on Billboard for Epic Records. And then the artist got pregnant and had a baby and didn't tour. Yeah. And it just disappeared.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, and it's like, well, that was totally out of my control. I wouldn't have produced the album differently, you know, knowing anything.
You did your job the best you could.
Yeah. There's nothing I could have done differently.
And also, you can't really tour. You can tour with the newborn, but completely understand.
Yeah, she decided not to, and of course she did. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
But all of that completely out of your control.
Yeah, and then you go, well, there's no radio promotion, then of course it's going to die.
Pretty much.
You know, so so much of it's just out of your control, and you just have to go, I'm just going to try and make the best music and keep the relationships good.
Yeah, and it's do like right by people.
Andrew Sheps, a big mixer, producer, he does a lot of, anyways, he's great, but his biggest mantra is don't be a dick. That's the best way to succeed.
It's all vibe, man.
In music
it's
business
so hard to know how to explain to people is.
That's it, Yeah, the best producers are good hangs. Yeah.
They really are, though.
Yeah.
So how we end all of our episodes is we ask every
rapid
guest
fire
the same 5 questions, not rapid fire, unless you somehow prepared very easily.
I didn't. Yeah, I did absolutely zero preparation for this, except that I listened to a lot of.
Besides that, you showed up.
Yeah,
I'd be you guys here.
Come on. Did. You know what?
That's his fault. No, I'm joking.
It is my fault.
It wasn't. No. All right. First question: did you have any backup names for your kid?
We really struggled to agree on a name. We definitely had different sort of philosophies on what a good name would be. And like the names that Larissa would go, ooh, what about this? And I go, oh my God, I would never name it that. You know, and vice versa. I'd say like, you know what I kind of like though? You know, no, just absolutely hate it. No, so we struggled, and we even like we're talking about another one. And we're like, the hardest part's going to be another name because we barely made it through one name. So we'll see.
How'd you land on Emma?
Fairly random. Now, we knew that we wanted to give her the middle name Elizabeth because that was Larissa's mom's name.
Oh, cool.
Okay. One of the things Larissa and I connected on early was that we both lost a parent young.
Oh, okay.
Her mom passed away when she was around 20, and my dad passed away when I was around 20.
Okay.
So when my sister had a child before I did, and she made his middle name Les, which is my dad's name.
Cool.
And so we thought, well, we got to make her middle name Elizabeth for your mom. So we were already like locked in on a middle and last name. Yeah. So we have to have something that has the right flow with the middle name.
I gotcha.
And her mom was English, and Emma's this like great English name. And when Emma Elizabeth has a great ring.
Yeah.
And it just turned into that. And there was no bigger story otherwise.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Next question. Who's your favorite TV dad?
Oh man, that's interesting. I wish I had prepped for that.
TV or movie? It doesn't.
The first thing came to mind because I just referenced Mr. Mom.
You can say Mr.
There
Mom.
you go.
That was a great one. Michael Keaton was so good. The classic line when the boss comes to pick up the wife to go to work, and he's trying to be a tough guy, you know, because he feels weird that he's the stay-at-home dad, you know. And he goes, "You want a beer?" And the guy goes, "It's 9 o'clock in the morning," and he goes, "Oh, scotch." That's.
Oh man,
awesome.
I'm gonna have to watch that again.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched it. I'll need to watch it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's hilarious. That is definitely the first of that answer.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Least favorite kids show or movie?
Well, I don't know yet because she doesn't watch TV yet.
Yeah.
Could be from your childhood.
I was not a TV kid.
Nice.
Do your nieces or nephews watch a show where you're like, this is
well,
the
they live in Ohio, so I mean, I hate to dodge every version of this, but I don't know that I have one yet. I am worried about the like sensory overload shows.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'll give you the balance to this question is that I love Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my sister showed Mr. Rogers her kids a lot, and they loved it, and I loved that. And even still, like, you know, when we're at the holidays and they throw it on for him, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is a good episode. This is the one where they make crayons. Yeah, I love that." So yeah, those kind of I'm going to attempt to lean towards the old-fashioned, gentler shows, and I think the overstimulation of modern ones scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's fair. Next question.
All right.
Favorite kids toy? Like when Emma plays with it, you actually enjoy playing with it also.
Well, I love the shaker because that's turned into a musical thing for us. So in the first time when I realized the shaker was going to be her like security thing, I was like, "Oh my god, what's the best Beatles track with a shaker?" And I came to You Gotta Hide Your Love Away.
Oh yeah. I would have thought of that or Norwegian Wood. I feel like
that would have been a great one too. Yeah. So I immediately was like, "Yeah," and I put it on, and I'm like, "Yeah, you can do. Do you hear what I'm hearing?"
Okay, you're a little slow. You're not keeping tempo.
Yeah. Eighths. Okay, eighths. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It is so funny to we do project our love
without question.
Absolutely.
Because I don't do that with Ada, but when we're outside, I'm like, touch the leaf.
Yeah.
Or that is a maple. Yeah. And I'm
you're explaining everything.
I think you're going to do one or the other. You're either going to instill that passion in them or you're going to make them hate that thing.
True.
Because they're like, "Oh my God, that's all we freaking did when I was a kid."
If I have to listen to one more sad song with my dad.
Yeah, right, yeah. All I hate is songs with shakers. I just can't.
Yeah. They're the worst thing ever.
All right, next question. Moment of your kid's life you are the most excited to be a part of.
Wow, neat question.
Good job, Devin.
Yes.
Most excited to be a part of. Just her finding her passion, I think.
Yeah.
You know, my parents were great with nurturing what we were into. It turned out to be a lot of the same stuff they were into, but you know, like I remember my sister, we went and saw this band and the drummer is outstanding, and my sister went, "I want to do that." You know, we were all guitar players and stuff in my family, and my dad went and bought her a drum set. You know, it was just like, "That's your thing now, cool, let's do it." You know, and I would be excited to be that, whether it's music or marine biology or whatever becomes her thing. I'm excited to go, cool, let's nurture that and see if you can be the best at it or just enjoy it as much as you can, whatever.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think it's why it's so exciting as your kid gets older, because you start to finally actually like see the paths that maybe they can go down.
Yeah.
And then it is that level of support is such a good connection point, regardless of what the like thing you're supporting is. It's just like, oh, it feels like you're actually part of their life to some extent. Yeah. And like the first 2 years of a kid's life, you're like on call basically at all times to take care of a kid.
That makes sense.
And at some point in time, your relationship switches in which it's actually like give and take. And you're like, oh, this feels so much different than me just trying to meet your needs and feeling like I'm failing.
Yeah, right.
So,
next level. Great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is, I don't know. I always feel like it's around when your kids turns 2. They start to be like a little bit more independent. They start to like, my son loves cars. So like, I know if I want to make him happy, I go to somewhere that has like a train table or something that has wheels. And it's like, oh, I feel like I'm actually like taking you somewhere where you enjoy something, as opposed to hopefully putting something in front of you and like, I hope you like this.
And her or him probably being able to show affection is amazing as well. Like she will come up to me and give me a hug and then just go like this to give me a kiss as well. And then she says, "I love you, Dad."
And then runs away.
Oh, man, it is like just tugs at your heartbeats, and you're just like, all right,
that's why I did
this.
This
is what this is for.
Her making the sound "dada." I think it had no intent whatsoever of being me.
Yeah,
but it still got me. Like, that's the sound.
That's great, man.
Yeah. Well, we always give an opportunity to like, do you have anything you want to promote or anything like that? Like, what's your Instagram handle? Anything like that? It's usually how we end out the episode.
Yeah, I'm Daniel _Agee_. That's AGE. It's mostly records I've worked on and wines I'm drinking at the time.
Oh, that's not
That's
bad
pretty
life.
much all I post. And very open to discuss wines. That's it. Yeah, I don't really have any specific to promote, but anything I do goes on there. Yeah.
But Daniel, thanks for coming on and doing an episode, man.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.